This is Breakfast Daily. Time now to look at some pressing issues in our country. Now, I've been joined in the studio by Jeffrey Kabuto-Kanze, who is Executive Director, Revenue Mobilization Africa, and Paul Eric Ofori, his Head of Research, COPEC. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Which club do you support?
Manchester United.
Of course, everyone knows I'm a Chelsea fan. The trolling yesterday has been massive. But I mean, Manchester United fans should relax. You know, we've just started.
So both of you, what is your inspiration for supporting the teams you support?
Oh, well, I mean, I still love my Chelsea, despite the fact that we lost honorably yesterday.
Losing to this honor in it.
Well, we are the men on our way to Wembley. And as we speak, when you talk about Manchester United, a team that adopted a word united, I mean, any other day, a Chelsea fan is welcome. So that's okay. But you realize when you asked us a question, he was doing more talking. See, when you have done the work, you have delivered, you don't talk much. Your works will show. Like you would have asked
Prima, are you really opening the floodgates for this?
Oh my!
Because if this argument is for us, if the floor is open for us to debate on this issue, they know they will lose.
Okay, we hold it there. I want him to be my friend this
anyway,
morning.
a special good morning to all Man City supporters. We don't need to say so much. We'll leave it to the others to talk.
But why are you leaving Chelsea out?
In the city. I mean, sometimes Manchester United, Manchester City.
No, Kabute, hold on.
It happens in Manchester.
Kabute, hold on.
Don't bring any.
I have an issue with Fema.
Right.
Why would she shout out to United fans and leave out
Man City fans? No, I did not say United.
Well, I thought I heard United.
No, you didn't hear, right?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
It looks
the bias is clear, but it's fine. I think that both of you are trying to do everything in your power to sideline Chelsea, but it's fine. We'll make the way.
Both of us.
But it's a blue sky.
Don't add me. Don't even try to add me to him.
Whatever it is, you are both in Manchester, so it's fine.
Anyway, now let's come home and look at how we can better our lot in Ghana. Right. Now we start with one that is coming from the NDPC. Now that is the National Development Plan Commission. Now there is a story in the Daily Graphic and also in the Ghanaian Times as well. And it looks like this is one that needs our attention. So I'll take the story from the Ghanaian Times, page 14. The story is by Vivian Arthur, and it reads, Submission of Development Agenda by MDAs. No plan, no budget, NDPC warns. Is that ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, who do not have an approved development plan cannot have a budget, the Director General of National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, Dr. Kojo E. Mensah-Brampa, has warned. Now, according to him, the failure of the MDAs to present their development plans not only affected the work of the Commission, but the development of the country. Dr. Mensah-Brampa said some 12 MDAs out of the 46 MDAs failed to submit their 2023 development plan 8 months into the year. The DG of the NDPC disclosed this at a two-day high-level stakeholders workshop on statistical data collection and management for effective coordination and joint implementation in Accra on Thursday. The workshop, organized by the Commission in partnership with the Ghana Statistical Service, with support from the German Development Agency, GIZ Ghana, and United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF Ghana, brought together directors and officials of MDAs. Now, it aimed to foster effective coordination and joint implementation of projects and programs, leveraging the growing imperative to jointly produce, share, and use quality statistical data for accelerated national development among MDAs. The NDPC is mandated to coordinate district development plans and programs submitted through the regional coordinating councils, integrate the economic, spatial, and sectoral plans of ministries and sector agencies, and ensure that all these plans are compatible with national development objectives. The MDAs, on the other hand, are required by the Civil Service Law 1993, PNDC Law 327, Act 480, and LI 2232 to undertake development planning functions in consultation with the Commission, prepare and submit for approval by the Commission a development plan based on and compatible with national development priorities and sectoral development guidelines issued by NDPC. However, the DG said some MDAs failed to perform these functions and were obtaining resources and making expenditures without informing the Commission, Parliament and Office of the President. Quote, so what we are saying is that if you do not have an approved plan, which NDPC had been authorized by our own constitution and fully supported by the president and implement, you cannot have a budget and will insist because if you don't plan, you can't spend, unquote, he added. He stated that the 12 MDAs which failed to submit their plans to guide effective implementation had been sent to the Chief of Staff for action. He expressed NDPC's readiness to support the MDAs to plan and coordinate effectively in the collection and management of statistical data to ensure harmony and waste of resources. The government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobne-Nim, observed that the managing data and effective coordination was a challenge on the part of MDAs in their development plans and policies. He underscored the need for increase in investment in data for the purpose of integration and interoperability to help MDAs facilitate effective implementations as they continue to digitize their data system. Professor Nim also called on the MDAs to have a robust systems for effective management of data so that the country would not miss out harnessing global data. Paul, I'll start with you. This is where we are. So the NDPC says that if you cannot bring us your plan, you shouldn't be getting any budget because really, what are you using the money for? So it looks like you get the money and then you decide, you know, some kind of afterthought something. So there's no clear plan. You just have the money and then you decide to use it anyway. I don't know what you make of this.
Thank you, Frema. I think over the period, we've seen the District Assembly's Common Fund Administrator disperse funds to district municipal assemblies, metropolitan assemblies, in line with government's strategic, or if you like, plans. Now, as far as the local government and governance is concerned, you realize that most of these districts do not really have a well laid out strategic plan in terms of how they are even able to mobilize resources. Take, for instance, the Tema Metropolitan Assembly, where I did my national service back in 2011, 2012. I mean, it was terrible back then. Unless government subvents them, most of the operations come to a halt. What do I mean? I mean, revenue mobilization is critical as far as our local governance is concerned. And so if you are not able to generate the needed resources to fund the activities of that particular district, then it becomes a problem. What Tema did was that we had to use service persons. We deployed service persons to the field.
Yeah.
They went to the markets. They went to the organizations within the metropolis, in making sure they pay what is due the assembly, and to a large extent we're able to recoup some of these revenues that were, as it were, lacking as far as the assembly was concerned. And so dovetailing that to what the NDPC is saying, they are right. I mean, in the scheme of things, we should have had what is called a project bank for some of these municipals and metropolitan assemblies to pick these projects from, and then, you know, implement them at their locality. Unfortunately, we do not have such. And so NDPC is requesting quarterly, sometimes annually, that each district, each metropolitan assembly, each municipal assembly is supposed to submit to the NDPC what their activities and plans of actions are, just so they also see how best to align them with the national agenda. Unfortunately, some of these MDAs have not been forthcoming as far as these things. And I support the idea that unless and until some of these programs and activities are brought to the table, I don't see why they should be subvented. Some of them, if you like, the MMDAs, they just act according to the whims and caprices of whoever the CEOs are. and until the chief executive officer of the district assembly says that, oh, we want to build this market at so and so a community, then that's it. Sometimes you find the funds lying idle because they really do not have a planned project to implement. And it is high time the Auditor General, the NDPC, the District Assembly's Common Fund Administrator sits with some of these people in making sure that, I mean, development project is cutting across every sphere of these districts. It should not be at the whims and caprices of the CEOs, and sometimes even in line with the MPs, who, to a large extent, by virtue of political, leanings, want to implement certain projects at the neglect of the overall development goal. Yes.
Right now, Jeff, let me come to you. It's 8 months into the year, and NDPC is bringing this forward. Did they have to take this long for even the NDPC itself to let us know this? But for this workshop that was organized, we probably wouldn't even know that this is what is going on.
Well, let me ask you, you know about the National Development Plan? You have a copy? You have more information on it? You do?
Well, we know what they are supposed to do.
Right, but you have the National Development Plan? You know
No,
about it?
I don't have, well,
you
we
have
know
clarity
about the...
on the information in there? Have
I-
you ever attended
what-
any
what is your
workshop there?
point? What
No,
is your point?
I'm just asking. I'm looking at Framer from a point. You belong to a group where I belong.
Yeah.
And I can ask him if he does. You have? No, that's not a mischief. So I'm starting from the mother institution. You know, I'm starting from the mother institution. If we had arrived here and you had asked me to give you questions that you ask us, that would be problematic because you are in charge of the show.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm saying there's sad clarity on the existing National Development Plan. Clearly. I would not whip too much into the NDPC, but I think they need to be given some authority, you know. It should be changed from a commission to an authority. So they act as we expect of them. That said, I think, you know why I'm passionate like this? My MA thesis was on the role of development communication.
Okay.
Okay, in national development. So I had a lot to spy on what the NDPC is doing as an
Okay.
institution and how they could use communication to get to the people.
What did you gather?
I gathered that, you know, there was little knowledge of the National Development Plan and their role amongst the Ghanaians, you know. So if you should mention, some people might not even know of the NDPC at all. A few of them would know about them, but then they'll be confusing their role. So let's not belittle that point, actually. But moving forward, I think, however, it's important to note that it's pathetic that the local authorities are delayed in submitting their plans. You know, it defeats the purpose of decentralization. The spirit of decentralization is to give them power. They have to show to the Ghanaian people the existence that they have and the importance of their existence. They are there for a purpose. It was all at the top. And then we said, let's decentralize and give power to the people beneath. Then we can decentralize the whole system and then things flow quickly and smartly. Now, so it makes their role very, very important. And as I move forward, I think in presenting a plan, it gives room for transparency on what you want to do. It gives them that participatory spirit because...
And accountability.
Exactly. So transparency and accountability, as I've written here, and actually that makes it very, very smooth. And it makes us clearly see that, you know, we give them the District Assembly Common Fund, like my brother said. But that said, there's also the sister opportunity of getting the internally generated funds through the revenue generation, like we all agree, like property rates, as they will be collecting. And all these things and the levies that there be, determined by the Assembly, are expected to bring money. So if you did a projection and a plan, you can project and say you are expecting IGF to this tune, and then how you are going to apply your Assembly Common Fund, and then the project that you have agreed with stakeholders in that district. You understand? So it gives a clear picture of what you are going to do, who and who was involved. I mean, before you do that plan, it shouldn't be a sit in and do. It should be an all-involving, a stakeholder. This clearly shows, if as at this time, I'm hoping, if I should ask the district planning officer and the regional, the coordinator, they call them something, district coordinator or something there, the coordinating officer over there.
Yeah.
Council,
You see, that person should be able to tell me what the people want and what they've agreed on. That fed into, they have the assemblymen at that committee level where the Codi is in charge. So when they have done that development plan and they submit it, it's not like everyday thing, but for every sector, education, what do you want to do? Health, what do you want to do? And all these things submitted on the plan, then you give us a clear roadmap. Now, let me tell you what, it's important to make sure that they share this plan with the people in the assembly. They should ensure that this is done effectively. What this does is that it develops ownership. I was a part of it, and I decided we would do street lights. So I begin to believe in it, and I support. Maybe the assembly at a point may need some people to move certain structures. Even sometimes you need to put a pole somewhere. Maybe somebody's own land, he must shift his wall, or you need to break something and do something. When they understand it better, they can even say, look, for the good of society, there's going to be a big bridge, and a slight portion of my wall must be cleared. Once I was part of the decision, I can give in that thing. It forestalls sustainability. Everything you have done as an assembly, if the people know when you want to put the street lights, and they come on board, after fixing the street light, the sustainability of that street light is important. People think when government puts the street light, the government must come back and put it there and replace it when it goes off. But you see, when we encourage and involve people, it's their own taxes that will come. But because of shortage of funds, they might even replace it nicely and give voluntarily if you give them that opportunity. But let me tell you what, whilst at this affecting corporation, as I said, revenue generation is even affected. When transparency and accountability, as you said, is on board, when I'm giving my taxes or levies at that level, my property rates, I rush and go and pay. You know why? Street lights is in front of my house. In front of my house, the gutters there. I see the Zoom line people cleaning every morning. That inures some strength in me for me to contribute the levies. Then finally, let me tell you what. While at these participation levels, let the clarity stand well, we can easily, devoid of politics, tribal and religious things, these participatory approaches at that level sprawls up, brings unity, and that is when it touches the top. When the assemblies are working and they are strengthened, it touches the top. But I have one thing. I'll tell you what. I have something I've been pushing for the years. If these plans are well worked out, you clearly will see the internally generated funds of certain assemblies, and it will push for some arguments some of us have made over the years, that certain MFDAs are old enough to be weaned off the District Assembly Common Fund. I don't see any reason why the AMA should be on the District Assembly Common Fund.
Why not?
Why not? Go to Airport City, you see the structures there. The property rates are expected of them. Walk through this side of the town. They're all under AMA. The property rates alone they can generate. The levies they can collect, the things they can do to invite investments in their circle areas, that can help them to collect. Look, nuisance penalties alone can give the AMA money. Ask me what is nuisance penalty. You see the cars that constantly you tell them not to park somewhere and they park? You don't need to go far. Give these youths walking around employment and give them a shoot gun. The camera shoots the vehicle when it parks at the wrong place, automatically picks the number, and then you find the person on spot. Don't charge much. Don't do it 150 for the person to find difficulty and find corruption. 10 cedis, 15 cedis, 20 cedis. When you pay that, if you park wrongly 3 times in a day and you pay 30 cedis, you will set up. Whilst you are checking the indiscipline, you are raising some funding for the assembly, and these are where you get the monies. Go to account.
But are we not paying too much already? We are paying so much money, but where is the money going to? This is the question that everybody keeps asking.
Exactly why you and I agreed on the issues of transparency and accountability. That is embedded in our hearts. It should be embedded in reality. So while at it, I'm saying there are some people who decide to cause themselves that evil spirit of being a nuisance to everybody else. So while at it, let's just put punitive measures on them, clearing the streets of these behaviors that are causing accidents, and then repaying some funds for the assemblies.
Jeffrey just mentioned something earlier that all this will point to the top, and that is my concern now. If we are not being able to do this, does this not indict all of us as a nation? Why are we not able to do that? In fact, what is the plan of the nation?
You see, Frema, each assembly member campaigned on a certain line. They felt there was something missing at their level, right? And it was based on that campaign promise that they were elected. And so each of these assembly members that come together, having one person as the presiding member, should be able to come up with a project for a particular year. Maybe a fiscal year, we decide and say we are building markets across our district. And so we make sure that all the funding that comes in from government, in addition to our internally generated funds, we should be able to push, for such an activity to happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are not seeing some of these things. And like I said, I did indicated earlier that sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes you have some of these CEOs and the MPs, working hand in hand, rather than going by what the assembly may have decided on. The CEO and the MP do things to favor their political party, or if you like, the ruling government. And so they neglect really the needs of these districts and municipals and metropolitan assemblies at the expense of the political lineage of the minister.
But Paul, is that not what we do?
CEO
Is that not what we do in this country?
See,
Everything
for
has
how
been
long?
politicized.
For
Everything
how
has
long?
moved into. Now, the KMA says that we can't have the
tricycles, yes,
in the CBD,
and the same
and there's
applies
a problem.
to AMA.
Same exactly, and we can't really fight this. Last 2 weeks we were discussing this, and then you have politicians come in with poverty levels and all that.
We have chiefs
but really,
leading
exactly.
to go to the regional minister and then the CEOs of these assemblies, begging them to allow tricycles to operate just so their people can feed. But you see, it all boils down to what our strategic plan as a nation is. Are we really in for the tricycles to be operational in the long term, or is this something that we are allowing people by virtue of lack of unemployment?
Or is this something that we'll tell them not to
short-term?
do, and then towards elections we will
exactly,
allow
we will
free
still
flow
open
of
the
everything?
gates to them.
Remember the hawkers issue? The hawkers should be off the streets and all that. Get into elections,
And they'll still come back.
Exactly.
This KMA issue, I can bet you on authority.
You struggle when the documents are there to be applied.
Yeah.
It's a matter of
implementation.
implementation.
So who is implementing?
Is that not our problem
Enforcing
in this
the
country?
laws has to go on.
Do we know how to enforce anything?
Well, if we
The
know
laws?
how to arrest a man who stole a goat and jail him 10 years, then we should know how very easy
That I can agree with you.
to call the assemblies to order and tell the MC, this is your performance index. By the end of the month, if we don't see A, B, C, it is not the president who appointed you that's going to sanction you, but then the assemblymen and the people of the assembly should have a checklist, a tick mark. Is this thing being done? The tricycles we said we will take off, have we taken it
So
off?
Jeffrey, sorry, don't you think it is high time we consider the election of these DCs and the MCs?
Well, you
It's
see,
not about time.
Well, I've said that if we go ahead and elect them, it's still going to be about the issues of applying and implementing the laws we have agreed on. But I think it will be better if we did.
There is that part where they are not able to enforce some of these policies and bylaws of the assemblies because of political
But have you looked at this side of it? While we are okay at electing them, we should also strengthen a voice of how government could also, stiffen hands on the issues of politicization. So like we have said today, this morning, again, an important point is to ensure that there's this depoliticization of, the spirit of the assemblies was that we wanted a situation like you're rightly pushing, that it will be so devoid of politics, tribal and religious influences, like you're saying, pastors moving in to go and beg. But let me tell you what, if the laws are stiff and they are strict on the ground, there's always a way of applying it such that we'll stick to the laws, persons will fall foul, we find a way. Punishments are not to destroy.
Yeah.
They are meant to reform. While the reformation is going on, let people know if we all decided, Freeman decided she didn't get any employment from school, so she's going to stand on the street and block a part of a road and sell. It can't be proper. So you know what? Your best friend.
Yeah.
It will start with your friends. I have friends who look, sometimes they disagree with certain things I believe shouldn't be done. But I stand by it.
Yeah.
If we have people to stand by the truth, I'm not a saint, but let's apply the rules to the letter.
I really would wish that the NDPC will give us the ministries and the departments and the agencies, who have not really given us their plans, just so that we know who really they are. And then we can, like you mentioned,
Perfect.
look at the accountability aspect of the whole thing, and then we can appraise them properly. So if we know that maybe, for instance, it is the Ministry of Education, it is Department of so and so, or this agency that is not, bringing a plan, then we can scrutinize even their work and then understand why we are not getting what we are getting.
But let me ask you, is it not a bit confusing, even though we are allowing participatory approaches, that the NDPC, don't they have reps in these institutions?
I think
because they should have had reps in there. Don't you think so?
No, I think that moving on, they will, because the conversation has started.
Right.
So I really want to believe that moving on, we will know all the various ministries and departments and agencies who
I am
not.
bemused, confused, and perplexed about the fact that they don't have representatives at the regional and district levels. Because if they did, it is their person.
I don't think we can conclude.
Yeah, we cannot say that. So that's why I think that it's early days yet,
So
Jeff.
if they have anybody in there,
I think that
I'm pushing.
have a rep.
If they have a rep there, they are reps. They are reps. There was a push I did about this communication thing I told you about, development communication officers. And I think the Ministry of Information did something similar, and they have started it. It's actually to have this push for a participatory development approach. And I, in my own humility, think that if they have a rep there, their rep should be forecasting on plans and.
Well, maybe that is why we have this information. So I think that
every plan of the assembly should fall in sync with the National Development Plan. So it should be more like an application of a National Development Plan that has been localized to fit. When this is done well, what I'm passionate about.
Jeff, that the DG has said that they'll be moving to the Chief of Staff, and I really believe that they have the information, concrete information. So moving on, we probably will have more details
Let's even
on
ask
this.
ourselves, whilst we are preparing the MMDCs and MMDs,
Yes.
has government, when I say government, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, has government aligned its plans and programs to that of the NDPC?
Well,
that's why I asked what is our national plan? Until we have that,
and I asked him, and I asked myself too. Let me add myself.
Yes, add.
What is our national development plan?
Right.
Let's
make progress.
That's a big question.
Jeffrey, let's make progress.
And then a very quick one about whether government is following, is making its project in line with it. But let me tell you what, when we do this thing we are calling this morning these are the things we are going to get. We're going to get a cooperation of the people.
Yeah.
We are going to get even donations and willful contributions from the people. We're going to get tax compliance, and that will affect revenue. And we're going to get investment. Investment in the sense that, look, if you have a good plan and you showcase to people that you have skills available, X number of people who have X skills in your and can weaving everything available, somebody might even find need to bring money and invest. If you show about the agri potentials in your district on your plan that you submit to the NDPC, some people might come to your district and invest. So I think with all these things that I've outlined, it is important that we do this plan out.
Right.